Martin Ødegaard was in fine form for Arsenal against Olympiacos. We're going to be looking through his performance, looking at the positives, and why I think he's going to have a greater impact this season than many Arsenal fans think. Before I begin, if you are new here, please do hit the subscribe and the like, but let's get on with the video. So let's get started and talk about Martin Ødegaard. And to be honest, this was one of his first actions, and here he is in the middle of the park and the ball is coming slowly towards him. And I think the instructions in this game from Mikel Arteta was to play quickly, play on instinct, play fast. And you could feel that throughout the score. And I think the player that responded the best to it was Martin Ødegaard because of how well he actually played. In this instance, the way he just hooks this ball, as we'll now see, into sort of the path of, I think it is Merino, is really, really intelligent. And here it is. And the first thing I sort of want to talk about is his body shape as he's receiving the pass initially. Look at it. It's disguised. You're not really sure what Martin Ødegaard's going to do. Yes, you may know that he wants to switch the play, but it could be, a sort of switch out here to Gabriel. It could be anything really. And I think the way in which he changes his body to swing his left foot to play that into the middle of the park is very, very intelligent, and it shouldn't be underestimated. And I think Martin Ødegaard, for me, I've always said this, he's one of the best pocket players in the world. So when he drops in, finds those pockets of space in the final third, but he's also one of the best first phase players in the world in terms of picking the ball up deep and then finding the next player. And in this instance, he swings that ball and look, it allows Merino to take it in first time. And this gives me an opportunity to actually talk about this dynamic of how can we fit a fluent Ødegaard like this and an Eze. And I think when you've got Declan Rice, you can do it. You genuinely can do it because Declan Rice is probably one of the best physical number sixes in the world and one of the best ground covering number sixes in the world. So you can have Ødegaard receive deep and play make and progress the ball. And then the player that should be receiving in a pocket like this, it should be Eze. Could be Eze here receiving in there, but Eze should be the one receiving from Ødegaard's progressive passes. And I think that's the next evolution of Arsenal, to get all our creative best players on the pitch at the same time. We're so blessed to have a six like Declan Rice to do so, and I know that means Martin Zubimendi is dropped, but I feel like his influence is negated when Ødegaard is doing this roaming role and picking up the ball from deep. But this example, very good from Ødegaard, first time fizzed into the path of Mikel Merino, and that's what we want to be seeing. And I think this was one of the best actions from Martin Ødegaard in the game, and I think we sort of know what happens. He does find that ball in there, but initially the quality from him to ride the challenge, and this is another thing which really impressed me in this game, was Martin Ødegaard's ability to ride the challenge consistently. It was genuinely very impressive, and I've always been sort of annoyed with Ødegaard in the sense that I feel as though he's not strong enough in those duels to carry, to get the ball forward. The burst initially, it's not been there, but maybe you can say it's because it's an inferior opponent that he's able to do it. But multiple occasions he was riding challenges and bursting away, genuinely getting away from the opponent. And here we can see a really, really nice action from him, Gyökeres, the guy that's running through. But what I do like here, to be honest with you, is sort of the amount of runners that we've got. You've got Trossard there, you've got Gyökeres there, you've even got the option here, I think that is Martin Zubimendi. So you almost make the mind up of your number 10. Just put it in the space. And to be honest, the ball into Gyökeres is superb. It means that Gyökeres doesn't have to change stride. It's genuinely superb. The timing of it. Here is the timing of the release. And I want to note this as well. He does it when the defender is looking at the ball. Defender is looking at the ball. One thing when you're taught as an attacking midfielder is to release when the defenders are looking at the ball, because it's harder for them to adjust the movements of your attackers, of your front line. So even in this instance, Trossard could get in because the defender's too focused on the ball. And any ball into this corridor of space, and even in here, is going to be effective and impactful. I mean, Ødegaard really did recognize that. And in the end, it is a beautiful, beautiful pass. And sorry, one back into Gyökeres, and here he doesn't break stride, by the way. Nobody has touched this ball, and credit of course to Gyökeres for getting there in the end. The strength he showed was really, really good. But initially, Martin Ødegaard, the weight of the pass it makes that centre forward not have to break stride. Generally very, very good. And obviously in the end, it ends in a goal, and it's quite unlucky from Gyökeres. The finish wasn't half bad, but Martinelli was there to mop it up. But it's those instances, knowing when to release the ball, riding the challenge initially, getting the burst away from the defender once you've taken him on. These are things that I haven't seen enough from Martin Ødegaard. And it's not that he can't do it. He just doesn't trust himself physically and mentally to be able to consistently do it. But in today's game, it felt like it was all there for him, and it was generally very impressive. Here is another example. This ball has just been headed down. And one thing about Martin Ødegaard, I haven't got another example of this, but he was using that right foot when needed. It was almost like competition makes you play better, right? I mean, what a silly concept, guys. Competition can generally make you play better. But Ødegaard was doing things that you associate with Eze, the use of both feet, the ability to drive away and find a final ball. Eze was doing that in the 10. Ødegaard turns up and does the exact same thing. And in this sequence, the way that he uses his right foot and adjusts his body again, it's all in the use of the body, is very, very good. There you have it. It allows him to play it into that space for, it wasn't Marino, sorry, it was Gabriel Martinelli that headed it down, for Martinelli to go on. But what impresses me in this action isn't particularly the pass, as we go too far there. It's the sort of hunger after making the pass. He's thinking about getting along with the attack. So many times when I've watched Martin Ødegaard, I felt, you've played that pass, be switched on to get forward. And it's funny again, because that's something that Eze does really, really well. Once he plays that pass, Eze, he never stops and he makes good runs. Here, Martin Ødegaard recognizes, okay, Gyökeres has got the wide space. Let me try and sort of, attack here. That's where Ødegaard is trying to go, because he knows Gyökeres has got that area. Martinelli obviously ends up doing really poor here. He should probably just play that across quickly to Gyökeres. But it's all in Martin Ødegaard adjusting to use his right foot, being comfortable to do so, giving the ball into Martinelli again, who doesn't need to break stride. A lot of these passes, you don't have to break stride. And then the next action is, how can I influence this attack? Really, really good and really energetic from our captain here. And here is another example of Martin Ødegaard in terms of, his composure on the ball, because this isn't easy in terms of, he's boxed in. I know it's not the greatest of boxes, but he's genuinely boxed in. Here he is, Martin Ødegaard, on the ball. And there's nobody here in this space to find the ball into, because normally it'd be him there. And it's this idea, again, of Martin Ødegaard taking up the floater role, as they did it on the weekend. Ødegaard picked it up really nicely in this game in terms of floating here in the left-hand side. And I think what we can all agree is Martin Ødegaard's passing ability on the left-hand side is far superior on the right-hand side. It just suits his left foot much better to create from the left. And in this sequence, as we develop, we can see how he uses the run of Leandro Trossard. And if I go back to this frame and point out Trossard, he uses that run to create an opening for himself to turn. And a lot of people will be like, Trossard wasn't clinical, but his off-the-ball movement was really intelligent throughout, especially that first half. It was really, really good. And it allowed Martin Ødegaard to be looking forward and seeing that run of Victor Gyökeres. And, apologies, the recognition of Ødegaard of that run is really, really good. Look at the way his body is arced. And I've said it many, many times before. Martin Ødegaard is happier creating from the left-hand side. He is. He genuinely is much happier doing so. And we look at this weight of pass, and I've said this multiple times before. Gyökeres doesn't need to break stride. He can run onto that, and really he should be doing better. He should be protecting that ball better and getting a cleaner shot off. But it all comes from Martin Ødegaard manipulating the ball, keeping the ball for a bit, calming himself down, finding the angle. And the thing is, Ødegaard wouldn't do this on the right-hand side. He wouldn't do this and make a positive pass. He'd do the turn, but he'd look to recycle or go backwards. But because the angles here suit him, he's looking to play that ball into Victor Gyökeres, who, of course, allows the defender to get back, and it is quite poor from him. But I'm loving that from Martin Ødegaard. I genuinely am. And here is a much better example of sort of Martin Ødegaard and his pass. It's a beautiful way of looking at it, isn't it? Like the way he's arcing his body to play that pass, but also Gyökeres, really good from him sort of recognizing, okay, Martin Ødegaard, his body position is changing. Let me now make that run. And that is really what I want to be seeing from my centre forward. And obviously, in the end, he gets there. The ball, it doesn't stop at all. It goes straight into his path. And to be honest, he should be doing much better. And when I talk about Martin Ødegaard and sort of taking his time again, manipulating the ball, finding progressive passes, here's an example of it. Initially, maybe Martin Ødegaard would play a ball in there. He'd force it into the centre. But the problem when you do that, there's players in and around ready to pounce on Merino. So he buys his time. And this time we're seeing a great final ball at the end of it. Look how many players he's taken out from the game. Here is Martin Ødegaard. The whole picture changes. And if you're bold enough, you play that into Miles Lewis-Skelly. And that's exactly what he ends up doing. The ball ends up going into the path of Miles Lewis-Skelly, who's able to advance. But it's just that little turn, little trust in himself, physically and mentally, that I can turn my man here and get us on the other side of the pitch. And playing quick, playing progressive was the name of the game here against Olympiacos, especially in the first half. And again, this was probably one of my favourite moments. Here is Martin Ødegaard on the ball. And I want you to look at Declan Rice here. He's pointing where that he wants that ball. And I think what's really beautiful about this is when Ødegaard is on the ball here, he obviously sees that run of Declan Rice, but his body isn't disguising that he's seen it. Like, you don't know from this sort of angle of things that Ødegaard wants to play a pass into this corridor where Declan Rice is running into. You don't. And that's a sign of a top player, a top progressor. They disguise their actions. And as we see this progress, here is Martin Ødegaard. Now he's got there. Now, by the time he's made that decision to make the pass, it's the gaps are there for him to thread it. The gaps are there for him to thread it. And that is a sign of a top technician, but someone with top understanding of the game, to recognize when to play those passes and fizz them into Declan Rice, who has now gone behind the lines of the opposition midfield. And here we have it. It goes lovely into the path of Declan Rice. It's a bit awkward for him to take in, but he's trying it. He trusts himself to put it in that space. And that's really a positive from Martin Ødegaard. And again, here is now roles reversed. It's Ødegaard receiving between the lines. And what is really impressive is Declan Rice, by the way, who plays the pass. It's really, really good. By the way, I love it from Declan, fizzing it in to this space. But what is impressive here, look at how much contact is on him. And the thing with Ødegaard of the past, he'd probably be pulled down. He'd probably, do maybe too many turns and not trust himself to burst away. But here, in this instance, look how he shrugs him off. He's gone. He's gone, he's in there, and he's ready to attack this whole space. That is different Ødegaard. That is an Ødegaard thinking of a positive action. And many people say, maybe because it's an inferior opposition, he feels like he can be confident to do so. But it's all mental with Ødegaard. It's always been a mental. He can do these things, but he doesn't trust himself to do it enough. Like, even being in that pocket, I know he can be in that pocket initially, but I don't trust him enough to get away from the marker. Something that Eze does. This is what I'm trying to say. He's doing Eze-like things in terms of the way he's picking up centrally here, driving. And in the end, the execution from him is rather brilliant. That's the right pass. That is the right pass every single day. Gyökeres has attracted this defender, and it leaves Trossard free. And it's a sort of pass, and I know frames don't really show you, where, Trossard can hit that first time if he wants to. He can hit that first time. Nothing is stopping him. But obviously, we can't take away instincts. Trossard does, in the end, take many touches, and the opportunity does go away. But initially, Ødegaard's burst and finding that pass, it's brilliant. It genuinely is brilliant, and that should have been an assist for him. And here is another example, and I talk about Eze because look at where Ødegaard is here and where that circle is. Eze makes that run 9 times out of 10 into that space, which is the big circle there. Ødegaard of the past would be watching Saka. He'd be watching what Saka does, and he wouldn't attack that space. And it is quite ironic that Eze is on the pitch, and he actually does venture into that space as well. But for the first time, Ødegaard is attacking that space properly. And there was 3 seasons ago, we called it the O-zone, in terms of Ødegaard would pick up the ball in this area here, and you'd put your money on him bagging from there. We haven't seen that for a while, but this free roll, he's venturing into this area and he wants it. He wants that goal. And in the end, it's a really good save from the keeper. But that's what I love to see from Martin Ødegaard. You're being in that position in the first place. You're sensing the danger. And obviously there is Eze. That's what he loves to do in and around that penalty spot. It's brilliant. It genuinely is. I saw everything today from Martin Ødegaard. In possession, we saw it. Out of possessions, it's never been a doubt. But in possession, you know, you have your doubts about his weight of pass at times, his decision making. And today it was really, really good. And obviously, he capped it off with beautiful, beautiful assist for Bukayo Saka. It's a give and go. That ball is heading into Martin Ødegaard. And what's really nice is he takes the touch initially, slows the game down, gets it at his own pace. And this is what the best attacking midfielders do. They get it at their own pace. Then he's ready. He fizzes it into Bukayo Saka. And Saka can let it roll across his body. You know a ball is really good when you're forward, can let it roll across his body like Saka has done here. Genuinely very, very good from Martin Ødegaard. And he deserved to leave that game with a goal contribution. It's a really nice path. This is the same pass that Ødegaard made. He didn't need to stop in his tracks. And you absolutely love to see it from Martin Ødegaard.